Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of This Week in Hearing. I think, as many of you know, the American Academy of Audiology has their annual election for president. And I'm pleased today to have a special guest. Dr. Bopanna Ballachandra is with us today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and his vision for the future of audiology. Welcome, Dr. B.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. So it was wonderful to see you at the convention, and I appreciate you taking time to have this conversation with me. And just to give you a little description of what I have been doing. Some of the things are visible, some are not. So I have to go back to some of the beginnings of it, because just to give you a little pedestal to explain.
Please do.
I came to this country in the 80s with one vision. The one thing was to get education and excel in the field of audiology. Got my PhD from Callier Center, and then I was invited to be a faculty at Purdue University in the Midwest. That was a great start and a great breakthrough in the process of getting the training that I needed for future. It's a great school, and the rigor of teaching, research, and funding was pretty high. So I found it very challenging. It was very appealing to me. Okay, so from there I was on a trip and I started the human management workshop for audiologists in 1992. That got some notoriety for me. And one of the trips, I visited many universities and state conventions, and one of the invitation was from New Mexico. So I came here and I fell in love with this Southwest. The precursor to that, if I can say this, I used to watch a lot of Western movies in India. So it felt like very much Western world here. I said, I want to go there. So there was an opening. Came here as an associate professor. Stayed here for 7 years, and wrote a couple of books, chapters, and the interest at that time was to give it back to the society. So I got involved in the politics, the association work. Before that, I was involved with ASHA on multicultural issues, and represented a couple of caucuses at that time, the Asian Indian Caucus and the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus. So that helped me, because New Mexico has a diverse population. So it helped me understand the needs of multicultural population. And that helped me to put myself in in political arena, and chaired few things, and involved in the American Academy of Audiology committees. Finally, in 2006, I got elected to the board of directors. And it was a wonderful thing that happened at that time. After that, I stayed at the university for 7 years. And one day, I don't know, there was a urge to get into clinical arena, and I resigned with a guaranteed job, which, looking back, was a different story. But at that time, I wasn't sure what I did was right, and started my clinic in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And make it simple and come to the conclusion, I ended up having 15 to 16 clinics in Arizona, New Mexico, and Dallas-Fort Worth. So I had 60 employees. It was a good run, and had employed so many audiologists. It was an eye-opener to see what the clinical aspect was. So I had to manage personnel, budget, and being in private practice, it is quite a challenge. So at this time, I feel that I'm at a stage in my life where I have the time and the energy and hopefully a lot of experience behind me to lead a great organization and take it to the next level.
Yeah, well, I mean, talk about a diverse experience. Professor, practice owner, not just a practice, one practice, but several practices spread across 3 states. That's a huge, huge challenge. So you have a range of experiences to draw upon, and based on that, I'm curious to know your take on some of the challenges that the profession faces.
There are many challenges. I will allude to few of them,
Mhm.
which are currently in the minds of most of the audiologists. And number one is the OTC. I mean, we are trying to find a simple solution to a complex problem like hearing loss. I wish we had a simple solution. An example I can give you is when you do a tympanogram or emittance testing, you have to make sure the ear is plugged, and we try a couple of times to get a right fit. As a professional, we struggle to find the right fit to get the seal. So if that's the case, then I am a little concerned and wonder how a public will have that efficiency and adjustment. So that's the simplest way to explain. But the
Mhm.
hearing is a complex process. So it has to be addressed complex. The gadget is a means, but not the end of it. The second area is, which it's quite close to my heart, is the area of telepractice, because we are seeing a considerable shortage of audiologists. The number of audiologists entering into the field is minimized by the people who are going out of the field for various reasons. And it has not changed. And I was talking to Victor Bray and Amlani about the workforce changes that has happened. And they had wonderful posters. They
Mhm.
explained that the growth is less than 10%. I think, which probably you know that too. You might have seen that publication.
Mhm.
So we are at a crossroads of a large population entering into the hearing care and a small population entering into audiology. So how do we balance this? And we need to get very innovative. We have to try certain things. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we get ambitious in reaching out and say, as I said, trying to find a simple solution to a complex problem. So that's one area that I'll be trying to find a healthy, happy medium for both audiologists and the public to help them, because at the end of the day, it's our patient who comes first. Other one that I have been talking, because from the day I entered Purdue University, four of us, Carl Binney, David Goldstein, and Gene Bogus, and myself, were involved in writing the syllabus for AUD. So the intent was to have a strong education, but we have gone through iterations of that in many ways. So I would be involved, or I'd be very much interested in how to make this process a lot more cleaner and educate our students and bring out the best audiologists we can. So these are some of the things that's in the, and then there is always payment because we need to get paid. That's another issue. So, and then there are many things which I don't want to take too much time. I think every practitioner feels the pinch of the middle people who are trying to squeeze them. So we have to work as a collectively, as a group, as not as an individual. So that's my focus, to bring a better life to the audiologist and give them an empowerment that we are practitioners. That's another process that's going through, and we will make available funds and support for that MASA with
Mhm.
the ADA and ASHA's collaboration, cooperation.
Well, there's a lot of things happening now, and it's good to see your list of priorities. Um, it's good. And one final question for you, Dr. B, and that
Yes,
is,
sir.
um, I guess, with a crystal ball, looking into the future, what's your vision for AAA and your role as presidents? How do you see yourself shaping the future of AAA?
Yeah, I have to be candid as well as open with you. The association is formed by for audiologists. So we want to get more members involved in this process. and as well as the focus has to be our audiologists. And anything that audiology has to achieve has to be done through AAA. And that's the one thing that I will be looking at. That's the only thing that I'm interested. All these are issues, but audiologists come first. There are issues that we have to address, and I mean, as I can go on to it. Member satisfaction, member participation, and member involvement, and member cooperation. We need a large pool of audiologists working towards a cause of either getting MASA or getting teleaudiology or better payment plans. So we all have to work together as a group. And that's what I envision as a leader. And that would be, I mean, we have heard that we are working on a few things, but we would like to put a closure and find an answer to it. I hope I have answered your question.
You have answered my questions very well. Thank you. Any final words that you want to share with our audience before we sign off?
The thing is, I can't say just vote for me. That's an easy way out. But look at all the participants, the members who are in that board of directors panel. And I'll be more than happy to involve myself and extend myself to serve the community that I belong and I love.
It's a great way to end the conversation here. So thank you, Bopanna Ballachandra, fondly and affectionately known, at least by me, as Dr. B. It's great to have you. I know that in my library behind me, I have a copy of the second edition of your Human Ear Canal book. And I was lucky enough to be a contributing author in a chapter of that book. So it's good to have you on our broadcast. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. And I think thank you for inviting me to write a chapter in your book.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in Hearing. I'm Brian Taylor, and we have a very special episode again today. We're going to be interviewing another AAA candidate for president. And today we have with us Dr. Rebekah Cunningham. Dr. Cunningham, welcome to This Week in Hearing. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so I think we'll just kind of start with asking you, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Most of my background is in pediatric audiology. I did and have, of course, worked with adults and hearing aid dispensing on that level. I've worked in neurotology offices. I worked for Phonak, and I have been a professor since, let's just say, a long time.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm still an adjunct at HE still.
Okay.
So
all right.
I still teach for them.
So a very diverse background. Tell us a little bit about your current role.
Sure. Well, no surprise, I'm an educational audiologist. I work for the state of Indiana, and we are unique in that our Department of Health has an entire division called the Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Education. And for all of those very rural and very small school corporations who might have children who are deaf and hard of hearing, they contract with us. Okay. Some of the bigger ones like Indianapolis Public Schools, they don't need us. They have their own educational audiologist. But some of these more rural places and charter schools do need us. So there are actually 7 of us, and I have about 25 kids on my caseload, and I love the little ones.
That's interesting. And I've seen your name in a few publications over the years. I know that you're quite active in pediatric audiology, as you said. What I wanted to talk about next was your candidacy for AAA president. Maybe tell us from your perspective some of the challenges that the profession of audiology faces over the short term.
Yeah, well, short term and long term is always going to be reimbursement. Mm-hmm. We have not what we need. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to see best clinical practices be promoted a little bit more, and adopted out there.
Okay.
I think that we need more public and other professional awareness of who we are and what we do.
Well, maybe tell us a little bit, if you could elaborate on maybe how you envision your role moving those challenges along.
Yeah, they're kind of big.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. So how do you see yourself fitting into moving those along?
I guess one of the things that matters most to me about audiology and what kind of really prompted me to go ahead and do this is I feel like that leadership everywhere needs to listen to the membership more. So I envision things like focus groups, meeting at state meetings with other professionals, discussing the things that they think is important. And I think that these topics will come up. But I want to kind of get down to a grassroots level, and I want to pay attention to what is being said, because I see it and I hear it all the time. And I don't know that everything that is important to us as a membership is being addressed the way that we want it to be. So I really want to take that initiative, whether that's, clinical best practices, whether it's reimbursement. And I already think there's a huge group out there already working on some of these. Now, this is not new stuff.
Right.
I just want to help it along.
Well,
and I think I can do that by listening to them.
Exactly. It helps to have a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
That can sometimes further the process quite a bit.
Absolutely.
That's good to know what you said. So my next question for you, Rebekah, would be, tell us what advice you would give audiologists out in the field and how they can better collaborate with AAA and with the leadership.
I would encourage people to one, become a member of this organization, and two, out to your colleagues, reach out to the people who are leaders and express your concerns in that way. What I see and what I hear is a lot of people who are disgruntled or unhappy in some aspect or the other, but they're only talking to one another. And what I would like to do, and that's where I come up with the ideas of focus groups and, grassroots things where I can get in there and I can be the ears, so to speak, of what the membership really wants. So I would encourage them to become a member. I think it's only through, being active that you can invoke the change. So.
Sounds good. My last question for you would be around maybe looking more longer term. What's your vision for AAA? What's your vision for audiologists? If you had a crystal ball and you looked over the next decade or so, what would you like to see unfold for the profession?
I think that we would have more respect in the eyes of our colleague peers, more respect for the education and the knowledge that we bring in helping with hearing health, more respect for one another, more respect for our organizations, and there's more than one, and that not only do we have that respect, but it's shown in ways like appropriate reimbursement and appropriate public knowledge of who we are and what we do. So those are kind of really big, lofty goals. And I understand that. And I by no means think that I can accomplish those in 3 years, but they're definitely worth working towards.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I think our members of AAA would be really happy to hear that.
Good.
Any final thoughts to share with our viewers at This Week in Hearing about yourself, about your presidential candidacy, anything at all that you would like the viewers to know?
I think you'll be in good hands regardless of who the winner is. But yeah, I'm honored to be doing this. So I want to thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the broadcast, Rebekah. We really appreciate your time.
Of course.
Rebekah Cunningham, audiologist, PhD audiologist for the Indiana Public Health. How would you say what's your exact title?
It's educational audiologist with the Indiana Department of Health.
With the Indiana Department of Public Health. That's a pretty unique role. So thank you for being on the broadcast. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.